Okay, we are going to open up our Monster Energy NASCAR All-Star Race media availabilities with the winner of the 2017 edition of the All-Star Race, driving a new paint scheme this weekend. The driver of the number 18 M&M's Hazelnut Toyota is several of them available right now for those who'd like it. And that's Kyle Busch. Kyle, maybe just start off how are the practices today, and maybe talk about your new scheme with M&M's.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to have the opportunity to showcase a new product in the M&M's family with hazelnut spread, and looking forward to having a good weekend here this weekend in the All-Star Race and being able to go back to Victory Lane, win ourselves $1 million. So, we started out real rough, didn't quite unload off the truck as good as we wanted to, but we've made a lot of ground and have made our car a lot better. So, not really sure exactly how it stacks up yet with our competition, but we'll certainly find out tomorrow night.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. If you have a question for Kyle, please raise your hand. What's your mic?
Fair warning, if it's a dumb question, it's overhand, and if it's a good question, I'll throw them to you underhand.
Okay. Get that fastball ready for Lewis.
You can't lawyer. How differently does this car drive, these packaged, than the 2019 cars?
You talking about just with the front ducts and the hood duct versus just the front ducts? Not much different. You can't tell anything with the hood ducts that I've noticed. I haven't noticed anything about them except engine temperatures being hotter. We all are trying to figure out how much grill tape to run and what to do with the front end settings to mitigate the hot air that comes through the radiator that then comes out of the hood that then goes right into the air intake, on top of the hood there. And then you got hot cars in front of you as well too when you're back in traffic, so it just keeps heat soaking and getting hotter. So we're all kind of looking at that right now. But as far as the drivability, I'd say the only other thing that I've noticed is when you get in the corner and you land and compress and you feel the splitter touch, you don't feel it stall the splitter as bad and drive you up the racetrack. You can actually get into the corner, land, and compress, and the car will still stay turning. So I feel like that's a positive. So we've got that ridged splitter like we all used to run, and then somebody somewhere thought it was a great idea to have flat splitters, and that made racing worse. So we're back to the ridged for a week anyways, and so far so good. I'll have to wait and see what it does in traffic. That'd be an underhand.
Go to Steve here on the left.
Kyle, Steve Reed from the Associated Press. What are your thoughts on a second straight year NASCAR has kind of used this race as a research and development tool? I mean, do you like it as a driver, or do you not like it? Is it challenging?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think there's opportunities during the season that we've got a couple racetracks that are certainly a bit more challenging or difficult to put on good racing or passing, things like that. And so Charlotte's kind of been that way for the last few years. I don't know why. Years ago with the koi cars, I remember guys being able to run the wall, run the top, run the bottom, wherever, and it put on a pretty good show. But lately, since we've gone to the COT and then Gen 6, now it's kind of mitigated itself just to the bottom being the best way around here. So the PJ1, the traction compound, obviously that's it's definitely better to be in it, and so it's making the middle groove faster than the bottom groove. I don't know if guys will really be able to go to the bottom and out handle and out pass a guy that's running the middle. And if you're in the middle, I think you can protect enough to the outside that you won't be able to let anybody get to your outside. So we'll see what happens in the race. But certainly it's quite interesting right now with just practice and not really in race yet.
Jacob.
Jacob Zillman, Speed Sport. Kyle, you've got 16 wins here across all three series. What is it about this place that has suited you through the years, and has that changed at all with what NASCAR's done with the PJ1 the last couple years?
Yeah, it's I don't know exactly what suited me. It took me forever to win a cup race here. I only have one cup win here. Let's all remember that. One. But past that, truck Xfinity, it's been really, really good for me. We've been fast here, and it would certainly be nice to continue to keep up those winning ways in the cup cars and win another all-star race here, win another 600 here. Technically, we only come here once a year, even though there's 3 weekends here. We only come here once a year for points-paying wins. So, that's kind of a challenge or different. But I don't know what's allowed me to run well here, win races here, but the the traction compound the last couple of years has certainly moved and changed and been different. Last year, I remember in practice we first got into it, and I think myself and Brad Keselowski we both crashed instantly as soon as we got in it, and today was a little bit better than that. So we'll see what all transpires here later.
Mark?
Mark Garrow, PRN. Kyle, looking ahead to the 600 next week, with the change of the package, a number of drivers have talked about a little bit tougher physically for you guys. So how do you anticipate the physical toll that you may take during the race next week? Will it be greater than you've had in the 600 before?
Yeah, I think so. I think it will, because the stresses that we've been putting on ourselves through the corners all this year have been harder. Cars have been faster through the mid corners, so you're just creating more centrifugal forces, and that goes through your body. So, that's certainly been higher. The car's relatively, you can hustle it more, so you're up on top of the wheel. I feel like it a little bit more, just trying to get more out of it. It's definitely, when you're out front leading, and the car's gripped up and good, you can kind of take a breath, you can kind of take it easy. But whenever you're trying to run people down or pass people, it gets a bit hairier and crazier. But it's just, it's going to be for a long race and for a long night with 600 miles over typically running 500.
We'll go to Dustin in the middle here.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Kyle, I'm curious, looking back to the last lap of last weekend's race at Kansas with Eric and Clint. And
Never saw it.
I'm sorry?
I've never seen it.
Okay.
Does that trump your question?
Well, obviously it was a big block, and I'm just wondering, people have talked about blocking even becoming more and more of an issue. When there's a significant block, and even though it's the last lap, does that kind of show every other competitor what maybe is acceptable, or is it still you look at it and go, if I'm going to do that, I'm putting my finish in my own hands because the guy behind me may punt me or may let up? I just didn't know how, when there's a big block and people seem to be saying that there might be more of these, does that start to impact how the field reacts and what everybody else might see?
Yeah, it does. I think there's guys have had runs. I threw a couple blocks last weekend. Guys had runs on me. I would turn up on the straightaway to make sure they couldn't get to my outside, and if they wanted to get to my inside, I let them get to my inside because I figured I could run through the corner and get my momentum down the straightaway and be able to clear them on the next straightaway. So it's all relative. You kind of got to play it out and be careful with it. I was almost clear of Boyer. Wasn't sure if I was clear of Boyer, and I pulled up in front of him in practice here, and he kind of was like right on my bumper, so it was really close. I cut it close, but it was practice, and he let me live. If it was a race, the last lap in the race, I probably would have been turned. So you just got to be ready for it. If you're going to throw a block, like I did with Tony Stewart back at Daytona a couple years ago, it can turn ugly. So you just got to be ready for it. All depends, I guess, on who's behind you and how pissed off they are in the moment.
Why did you come up so closely on Clint then in a practice session? That's maybe not necessarily the case, or was that just kind of learning more about this package?
Yeah, I was trying to pass Clint, and I had a huge run on him down the front stretch, off of 4 down the front stretch, and I got past him, and I tried to make sure that I cleared him so he didn't get back to my outside when I got back to 1 and 2 to be able to get back by me. Like I wanted to see if that move that I made was going to clear him for the lead, and then see if I could maintain the lead off of turn 2.
Hey Kyle, Phil over from WSOC in Charlotte. When you have a small town like Mooresville that's racing crazy like it is, and it has the tragedy that it had 2 weeks ago, what do you kind of see your role as a NASCAR driver to kind of help some of that healing?
Obviously, there's a lot of tragedy in our world. Each and every day we're so thankful, and honestly, we take it for granted sometimes that the freedoms that we have, and we thank for next weekend, especially the military with Memorial Day weekend for all the things that they sacrifice and do for us. But we also have the firefighters, the medics, the ambulance, the policemen, everybody that is out there to help make our world a safer place. And obviously, with like the Las Vegas thing that happened, and with the the UNCC thing that happened. Obviously, there's a lot of risk out there, and it's very unfortunate. So we obviously pray for those that have been affected and have had the losses, and we try as a community to help build them up, and show them a good time, bring them a good time, allow them to have a night of not forgetting, but just relaxing and maybe taking their mind off the situation for a few hours.
Kyle Hill, Overton, WIXC Radio. Obviously, we've got two distinct configurations here on this track now, the traditional track and the Roval, which you've gotten to drive once. Of the two situations, what's your preference? Where would you rather be? On which configuration do you like to drive best?
The oval. The Roval's stupid.
Mark?
Not my problem.
Mark.
Everybody's got an opinion, just like they got something else.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Kyle, just playing off a little bit of what you were talking about a moment ago, in our sport, we haven't had the controversy that, say, the NFL has had around the flag and around how we honor this. Do you have a sense of pride the way NASCAR sort of handles all this, the honoring the military and the national anthem and the whole deal from week to week, and especially on Memorial Day?
Absolutely. We all are patriotic in our own ways, but NASCAR seems to do it probably the best with the NASCAR Salutes program that we've had over the course of the last few years, with having the ability to have the fallen soldiers on our race cars for Memorial Day weekend. And last year I was fortunate enough to take my soldier's family to Victory Lane, the Toth family, Special Sergeant Toft. And then this year I get the opportunity to carry around Sergeant Griffin. So I'm really looking forward to that. I met the mom and dad last week, being able to do a little reveal of my M&M's red, white, and blue paint scheme, and also having the Griffin name on top of the windshield. So I'm honored to be able to have them as part of our night, and it makes it up most special when you're able to take them to Victory Lane. So hopefully we can do that. But with what we all do at Memorial Day weekend, I feel like we do it the best.
Any final questions for Kyle? Whoa. Okay. We'll start with Bob.
Yeah.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. There's been a lot of changes, and you're talking about, like, look at next year's schedule, some changes from tradition. I'm curious how you feel. Does the sport still need a 600-mile race like you have next week?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, is it a tough race for the drivers? It is a tough race for the drivers. Is it as tough as it once was? Maybe not. Is it on the cars? No, the cars are way too sophisticated now. We could, I bet you we could probably go 800, maybe even 1,000 miles on a race car before you'd start to see problems. So, it's just a matter of length and attention span, I guess. On some other drivers would probably argue the fact with me that we don't need a 600-mile race, but I think it's tradition. I think it's history. I think you keep some of those that have been the longer ones that have meant more to our sport over the years, like the Daytona 500, the Brickyard 400. You've got the Coke 600. You've got the Southern 500. Like, those probably could stay the lengths that they are, and many of the others could probably change. But that's just, again, my opinion, and you know what I think of opinions.
Take the final two, Dustin, take three more, Dustin, Lewis, and Brennan. Go ahead, Lewis. Go ahead. Lewis. Go
All
ahead.
right. Forgive me if you were asked this last week at Kansas, but when you had the penalty for going through 4 pit boxes, Adam Stevens kind of contradicted you. Do you enjoy having a crew chief who will speak up to you?
I knew I went through 4. I just wanted to be a dipshit to get on Radioactive. I hope I won this week. I knew I went through 4.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Kyle, a year from now, do you hope to be in the middle of double duty, or do you feel like the window is closing more on that as each year passes to go do Indianapolis at some point, the 500?
Yeah, the window's probably closing, but honestly, I guess if I continue to work out and try to get in shape or stay in shape or get in better shape, then I can continue to keep that door open for longer. So I've been doing all those things, and whether or not the opportunity is ever presented, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I don't have any plans.
We'll wrap it up with Brenton over here.
I'm not going to put a percent on it.
Brendan Marksman, Charlotte Observer. Kyle, easy softball. I was just wondering, other than winning, what's your favorite All-Star memory? Maybe one from growing up, if you have one.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of them. I think T-Rex is probably the coolest one for me. I was a huge Jurassic Park fan, still am to today. Brexton is as well too. We've watched all the Jurassic Park movies and Jurassic World movies, so we love that. And to see how dominant that car was, how fast that car was, and being it with Jeff Gordon, who was my favorite driver growing up as a kid, was pretty cool to watch. So I love that one. Probably one of the biggest heartbreak ones that I remember watching was Gordon in the Chrome Illusion car. It ran out of gas going into turn 1 on the last lap. Mark Martin ended up winning. I love watching. Another heartbreak moment would have been the year that Earnhardt was in the silver car, right? And him and DW and Jeff Gordon crashed out of 4 or something like that. Obviously the Davey and Kyle Petty. Sparks flying. That was the first under the lights. So there was a lot of cool memories that I remember from the All-Star race, and being pretty cool watching all of those. Always dreamed of being able to win an All-Star race. Finally was able to get it done myself. And then even so with watching Jeff Gordon be able to win his first race here in the Coca-Cola 600, I've always I dreamt of being able to win, a Coke 600 and win, and was finally able to accomplish that last year. So, this is a cool place. It comes to Memorial Day weekend. This was kind of about the brink of the season where you really started to see more night racing. We always kind of had Richmond as a night race, and then you'd always look forward to Charlotte being a night race, especially at 1.5 miles, and then later 90s, you got Daytona. That was also a night race. So I just like Saturday night racing. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. And, you're able to have a Sunday off with family and friends. And of course, now that I have a son, it's his birthday. So it makes it nice.
All right. Thank you so much, Kyle. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Help yourself.